Very good morning to all. So let's start the session. Uh, let's quickly recap what we have studied yesterday. We have started with definition of the process, and I have asked many people, and many of you have said rightly. So process is a program in execution, instance of a program in execution, any task which is performed by either user or operating system. So that was right. There, there are many definitions of the processes. Then we have seen different ways to create the process and different ways to terminate the process. So there were 4 ways to create the process. Can anyone quickly write what were the 4 ways to create the process? How a process can be created? Okay, system initialization, a process which our operating system creates when it will be booted. So these are system generated. User request. Okay, so a user, when double clicking on executing a command, then initialization of a batch job, and then when a process will create a child process, right? So there were 4 ways. And what are the 4 ways to terminate the process? What are the 4 ways? Normal exit, when the task will complete, the process will get executed, means terminated. Error exit, like divide by 0. Fatal error, like file does not found, or killed by the another process. And we have seen 2 ways: voluntarily exit and non-voluntarily exit. So what are the voluntarily exit and what are the non-voluntarily exit? Normal and error voluntarily, and the other 2 are non-voluntarily, right? So then I think we have seen the process state diagram, and 2 or 3 students of you have explained the diagram by the examples. So what are the 5 states of a process? So new, ready, running, blocked, and terminated. Okay, so this we have seen. So yesterday, the student who have not understood, let me explain by one example the 5-state process diagram. So this is the thing that we have just revised. This is also we have seen 1-to-1, when one program will be executing as a single entity. So programs are having inbuilt user defined function, but operating system is not aware. So entire program is running as a single entity. That is 1-to-1. And many-to-one is program is divided into the smaller, you can say, functions, modular functions, and operating system will treat each this part as a separate program, so as a separate process. So that is many-to-one. So these were the 5 states: new, when the process is created; running based, when the process is using microprocessor or CPU; waiting or block, that means process is waiting for some event to be occurred, right? Either input from the user or output. ready when the process is waiting for the CPU, process is ready to get executed, and terminated means process has finished the task and or the OS has terminated the process due to any reason. So these were the 5-state diagram. We will only also see 6-state diagram also. So consider, let me give you a simple example. So consider you have written a C program, right? I'm talking about not that 10-20 line C program, but a huge C program, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 lines of C program you have written. So when you have written the program and when you have pressed execute button, that means your program is ready to run. So when you are creating a new program, it is in new state. Now your program is ready to run, but your program is not alone process which is running on your machine. There may be other processes also, right? We have seen yesterday there are many processes, foreground process and the background process, which are running on your machine. So it is not necessary that whenever your program is ready, operating system will assign the CPU, right? Your program may need to wait. So there is a queue of ready process. So your program will be put in the queue, and when CPU become idle, that means when the turn of your program will come, your program will be dispatched to the CPU and it will start getting executed. And it will also possible that when you run your program, the CPU become idle and your program will be directly coming from ready to running state. Now consider there are two situations. For example, scheduler have allocated 1 millisecond of time to your program. Right? Generally, these times are in millisecond and microsecond. So for that particular amount of time, your program will use the CPU, but consider the program has not finished its execution yet. For example, program have executed first 1,000 lines, and still 2 or 3,000 lines yet to be executed, but the time is over. So what your process needs to do, that means timeout. Again, your process will be in ready queue. That means the process wants to run, but scheduler have allocated CPU to some other process. So your process is ready, but right now the CPU is being utilized by the other process. So your program is ready to run, but it is waiting for CPU. Again, for example, after some time, it will allocate CPU, run for the allocated time, and ready. Now, for example, there is a instruction of scanf in your program. That means your program is expecting some input from you. The program is expecting some input from you, right? Scanf, that means you want to enter a single character or whatever input. That means your program is waiting for IO. IO means input output. That means it is waiting for input from the user. So now your program will be in the blocked or waiting mode or waiting state, because till you don't enter the input, your program will not run. So consider at that time you are doing some other task. So your program will stop execution, and if you don't enter, for example, input for 1 hour, your program will be in block state because it is waiting for input. Now For example, you have entered whatever you want. For example, yes, no, or some number, whatever the program is expecting, you have entered. So the moment you enter, again, your program will be in the ready state. Because it is not necessary that when you are entering, the CPU will be free. The CPU will be doing some other task. So again, your program is waiting for the event. In our example, it is waiting for some input. Now that input you have entered, so the program will be from block to ready state. And whenever it turn comes, the again program will start this execution. It will also possible that when you type the input, the CPU is free, or the scheduler will allocate the CPU to your program. So it will be from block to running state, because directly CPU will get allocated to your program. So this is the transition between ready, running and block. And after some time, when the program will get its execution or finish the execution, it will be exit or terminated state, or some error will occur. We have already seen the 4 ways. So either of these 4 conditions will occur. So it will release the CPU and program will get exit. So this is the 5 state. In your exam, it may be asked, right? Draw the 5 state diagram. So you need to draw this diagram and you need to explain. Only if it is asking only draw the diagram, you need to draw this diagram with all these events, right? So these are the transition. When is ready to running? When it is ready to running, when your program or when the transition will happen from ready to running. Here it is written when CPU starts or resumes its execution. Block to ready. When block to ready, I have just explained when the transition will happen. Block to ready. Not only input, but the event for which the process is waiting will happen. Now, event will be anything, either user input or user output, or input from operating system, or input from some other process, whatever the event, right? So request made by process is satisfied. Process is made some request either for input or output or any event satisfied, or even for which process was waiting occur. And running to block, that means process request for IO. That means when the transaction will happen from running to block, either the process request for input output, request for memory or some other resources, or wait for message from the other process, right? Any event for IO or some resource or memory or some message from other process, any event that the process is waiting for, till it will not happen, it will stop or it will be blocked. So in your examination, it is also asked when the transition ready to running will happen, or when the transition block to ready will happen, or where the transition running to blocked will happen. So you need to answer these all possibilities, right? So these are the transition. Now this is very interesting state. The same thing is explained. So I want you to observe this for 1 minute and try to understand by yourself, and then I will explain it to you. So there are 5 columns. Time, so it will start with 0 and then it will increase. Event, what will happen, and state of the process P1. So and P2. So there are two processes, P1 and P2, and how the states are changing it with the event, it is explained over here. So try to understand for 1 minute, then I will explain this to you. So how many of you have understood this diagram? No one. Okay. No problem. No problem. Let me explain it to you. Little. Yeah, little is enough for me. I am happy that you have understood little bit. Right. Let me convert this little bit to full. So consider there is a zero time. That means you have started your computer or the initial time. So for example, P1 is scheduled. Scheduled means P1 now will start using CPU. Scheduler have decided to allocate CPU to P1, process P1. So P1 is in running state because it is scheduled. Now it will use the CPU. And for example, there is a process called P2 is ready because at a time only one process can use the CPU. So when P1 is running, P2 is ready, right? After 10, consider this is a millisecond. After 10 milliseconds, P1 is preempted. Preempted means its time is over. CPU will be taken from P1 and P2 is scheduled, right? Now P1's turn is over and it is the time for P2 to get executed. So now what the change will happen? So new state is now P1 is ready and P2 is scheduled. That means it is running. Earlier P1 was running and P2 was ready. After 10 milliseconds, scheduler will decided to give processor to the new process P2. So now P1 is ready and P2 is running. After consider 10 millisecond, P2's time is over. Now it's your time is over and P1 is scheduled. The same way now P1 is again running and P2 is ready. Same way. After, for example, 5 milliseconds, P1 will start IO operation. P1 will start IO operation. That means input output. So P1 will be blocked because it is doing some IO or waiting for IO or whatever it is doing with the IO. So P1 will be blocked. It is not using the CPU and P2 is scheduled. So P2 is running now from ready to running. After some time, P2 is preempted. Now P2's turn is over. So P2 is still blocked. Sorry, P1 is still blocked and P2 is ready. And processor is doing some other task, right? There may be some other process or some other task processor is doing. So P1 is blocked and P2 is ready to run. then P2 is scheduled again. After some time, P2 is scheduled. So P1 is still blocked and P2 will be changed from ready to running. Now P2 will start the IO operation. Now it is turn for P2 to start IO. So P1 is already blocked and now P2 is also blocked because it has started the IO. Right? Then after for 80 millisecond or IO interrupt will happen. That means the event for which the process was waiting will happen. Interrupt we have already seen, interrupted IO. So now P1 becomes ready. So P1 is ready from blocked to ready and P2 is still blocked. And now when P1 is scheduled, so it is running and P2 is blocked. For example, after some time, IO interrupt will happen. Which interrupt? For which P2 is waiting. So P1 is running and P2 is now ready. And then the scheduler will decide, then P1 will be ready and P2 will be running. So this is only two processes, but there are n number of processes which are there. So the state of the processes is keep changing like this. So now understood? Yeah, seems like traffic light. Exactly, it is like that only. So any doubt, any query? Sir, in which situation process will be from running to ready again? So from running to ready, that means process is running now, but now its time is over. Scheduler will decide to allocate the processor to some other process. So when the process is running, now it will be put in the ready queue. That means process is ready to run, but CPU is allocated to some different process. So that means ready to running. In ready state, is the process will use some CPU? No. At a time, only one process can use CPU. In ready state, it will not use CPU. It will use the CPU only when it is running. Sir, here P2 is interrupted. Then why it is blocked? Where P2 is interrupted? IO interrupt, here IO interrupt occurs for P1, not P2. So P2 is still in block, but IO interrupt occurred for P1 only, so it got from block to ready. So but here, for example, at 135 or 140, again IO interrupt occurs for P2, then it will be from block to ready. So IO interrupt for it is for P1, not for P2. How do we know IO interrupt for P1 or P2? Yeah, that we will come in the next topic. That we will come in the next topic. You will understood how the process will know the interrupt is for P1, which process, right? Your question is valid. That will be answered in subsequent topics. So now anyone is having any question? Anyone? Okay. So consider these two diagrams. One is this A, second one is this B. So this is single blocked queue. This is multiple blocked queue. Now let's understand the difference. Consider this is the process will get admitted. This is ready queue. That means 1, 2, 3, 4. It is nothing but array, or you can say stack, where all the processes are waiting. This is, you can consider as a waiting room. Each of the process wants to meet the CPU, so processes are sitting in the waiting room. Right? It is just when you go to the doctor and each by term you have been allocated doctor's time, and one by one you will meet to the doctor, right? So one by one the processes will dispatch, or patient will dispatch. Processor is, you can consider the doctor. Now there are three possibilities. For example, process number one, here there is a process number one, dispatch, use the processor, consider its time is, means its task is over. So one possibility, release, that means gone, process gone. Second, timeout, that means still process wants to run but its turn is over, so again it will be put in the queue of waiting. Now whenever its turn will come, it will again go to meet the doctor. And the third one is blocked, event wait, right? So all the block, this is block queue, right? This is block queue. So all the waiting processes for event are put in the block queue, but here the single block queue. So it is not like that each and every process is waiting for the same event. Consider process number one is waiting for input, process number two is waiting for output, process number three is waiting for message from OS, process number four is waiting for message from some other process. So each process is having different reasons to block. But if there is a single queue, and that event will occur. For example, here is process P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6, P7. Consider P3 is waiting for input and input occurs. So the process will be out from this and it will be in the ready queue. Process P1 is waiting for output, but still output device is busy. So it will be blocked. After some time, output device is free. So again, the process will be. Now, our in doctor example, for example, when you go to meet the doctor, to some patient, doctor will tell go for X-ray, right? So to some patient will tell go for MRI. To some patient, doctor will tell go for blood report. So to each patient, doctor will tell. Now patient will go, and when the patient is ready, for example, this patient have went for X-ray, and when X-ray is ready, patient will be in queue because doctor, you told me for X-ray. Now I have done my X-ray. Now I am ready to meet you. Now this patient is went for MRI, but MRI took time, so still this patient is still waiting for MRI. Once the MRI is ready, it will also waiting for the doctor, right? But there is a single queue of all the patient: MRI patient, blood test patient, urine test patient, X-ray patient. Every patient are sitting, and whatever event will occur, the patient will go to the queue and it will wait for the doctor. But here, multiple block queue. For specific event, there is a single queue. So there is a separate queue. For example, these all patients were sent to blood report. Patient 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the queue of blood report patient. This is the queue of X-ray patient. This is the queue of, for example, urine report. This is the queue of MRI or CT scan, whatever queue. So here all the patients are sitting in the single queue, but here the patients are sitting based on the event for which they are waiting. For example, these all processes are waiting for input from the keyboard. These all processes are waiting for output device or printer is busy, so that's why they are waiting. These all processes are waiting operating systems input or something. So here single queue or single block queue, but here for each event different queue. So these are the two models which can be possible by the operating system. Any doubt, any query in this? To anyone? Any question? Great. Yes, it is the priority. So consider there is one more state. So this is, you can say, 6-state diagram. One more state is added which is suspended. Now new we have seen, ready we have seen, running we have seen, exit we have seen, blocked we have seen. But from blocked, the process can be suspended, and there is one more state, activate. Now your question may be, sir, what is the difference between blocked and suspend? What is the difference between blocked and suspend, and when it will get activate and becomes ready? Right, this all we have understood, but the only question needs to be answered is this, sir, from which, when it is from block to suspend and when it will get activated. So the answer will be in the next slide. Reasons for suspension. Why the process will get suspended either from the user or either by the user or by the operating system. Reason number one, swapping, moving process from memory to disk. Sometime it will happen that there will not be enough memory to run the process. There will not be enough memory to run the process. Your RAM or your memory is not enough, and there are multiple processes. So operating, we will see the same in when we will see the memory management chapter. So the operating system needs to decide which process should be suspended and should be taken out from the memory and should be stored inside the hard disk. The process needs to be suspended because no memory is available. No memory is available. The swapping is nothing but taking back the process from memory to the hard disk. So it will be suspended, and when the memory is available, again the process will be activated by the operating system and it will be in the ready state. So this is one of the reason. Reason number two, other OS reasons. Operating system reason. Operating system may suspend the process that is suspected of causing problem. For example, there is some suspicious process which is causing some problem. Now operating system will decide this is suspicious process or causing some problem, so it will suspend that particular process. So it is OS decision. Interactive user request. A user may wish to suspend execution of process for debugging. You are running the program and you have decided to suspend the process for some debugging. You want to do the debugging, checking the error or checking for the bug. Timing out. For example, operating system will assign some maximum time to process, and the timeout will happen and operating system needs to vacant the memory. Or the last reason may be there, parent process request. The parent process may suspend execution of the child process, right? So there may be the reason where suspend means the process needs to vacant the memory and it needs to be inside the hard disk. Blocked means the process is still inside the memory and waiting for some event, but suspend means process should be vacant the memory space. But when operating system will decide or user will decide to rerun the process, it will be transited from suspended to activate. So this is a 6-state diagram because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There are 6 states in this. So if it is asked in your exam, draw the 5-state diagram. You need to draw 5 state. If you want, if your exam it will be a 6-state, then you can draw the 6-state diagram. Now the next topic which is new is process control block, PCB. Now what is this PCB and what are the fields? Let's understand now. Now what is PCB? Let's understand. To implement the process model, the operating system maintains table called process table. Now here we have seen examples of 2 process. But consider there are 20, 30, 40, 50 processes which are running parallelly. Some are waiting for input, some are waiting for output, some are waiting for CPU, and some event. So how operating system will remember all this? So how operating system will get all this information? Operating system needs to remember, right? So to remember all these, operating system will maintain a table, and the table is nothing but PCB. So process table is array of structure. Now I will not explain what is array and what is structure because you have already seen, but process table is an array of the structure. Another name of process table is process control block. PCB is key to multi-programming. Why? That we will understand in subsequent slide. When operating system wants to implement the multi-programming, it should maintain PCB very well. PCB must be saved when process is switched from running to ready or block state. Why? Because we will also see in the next slide when your process is running, and when it will be in ready state, that means now process don't want to run. For example, process is running and process have executed first 10 instruction and again timeout occur. Now when process will run again, it should get executed from 11th instruction because 1 to 10 process have already executed. So moral of the story is, when process is switching from one state to another state, operating system needs to maintain the table to remember when process was suspended or blocked or from running to in which state it was. Because when process will rerun again, processor needs to remember when I left the process and when from which I need to resume it. Right. Same in our doctor example, when a patient send for some patient will send for X-ray or MRI or blood test, doctor need to remember to this patient I have sent for this, so the patient will come back. Doctor can remember this patient I have sent for this patient I have sent for that. So PCB is nothing but a state of the process which an operating system will maintain in a table. So this may be the field. To maintain the process state, few are optional, few are compulsory. Registers, program counters, program state search word. We will see what all these are. Stack pointer, process state, priority of the process, scheduling parameters of the process, process ID, parent process, process group, signals, time when process started, CPU time used, children's CPU time, time of next alarm. See how complicated it is. This much data operating system needs to maintain per process. Per process. Not this. This is only with respect to process, but with respect to memory, pointer to the text segment, because your process is divided into the three different parts. Text is code of the process. That means actual instruction. The code of the process, code, right? Program. Data, that means variable, the data and stack of the process. File management related, root directory. What is the root directory of the process? Working directory, file descriptor. All this we will see when we will see file, user ID, group ID. So moral of the story is there are n number of things that operating system needs to remember about the process, because the process, when the process will come next time, operating system needs to remember to run the process. So let's quickly see few field. One is process ID. It is a unique process identifier because operating system will assign a unique ID to each process, PID. It is something similar to like your enrollment number or your GR number. Parent process identifier and user identifier. Right. So process ID is unique identifier which is assigned to the process. Priority. Its typical numeric value, a process is assigned a priority at its creation. When a process is created, operating system will assign the priority. And when the priority scheduling will run, the process with high priority will run first. The process with low priority will run last. Process state, current state of the process, ready, running, blocked, terminated, suspended. What is the state? Program counter. These all you will understand when you will learn the subject microprocessor. But let me explain it now. Program counter meaning indicate the address of the next instruction to be executed for the process. Address of the next instruction to be executed for the process. Like a process will consist of many instructions. Consider your C program. So now program will start execution and processor will execute the program one by one. So program counter will store which instruction to be executed next. So processor will check the program counter and will see the address, take the address, and processor will go to that address and execute the next instruction. When processor is executing next, the next instruction address is stored in the program counter. Right? For the name, you can understand it is counter. So it will get incremented one by one. Processor will take that address and execute instruction for that address. CPU register. CPU register is nothing but memory of the CPU. CPU, your processor is also having some memory in terms of register. So content of the register when the CPU was last released by the process. Scheduling information. It includes process priority, pointers to various scheduling queue, information about events on which process is waiting, and other parameters. So scheduling is our next topic, but what is the priority of the process? What is the queue process needs to wait? All this information will be stored. PSW, Program Status World. So this is the snapshot of what? The image of PSW when the CPU was last voluntarily leave by the process. When the process voluntarily leave the CPU, the information will be stored in PSW, Program Status World. Loading this snapshot back into PCSW would resume the execution of the program, right? When process again wants to run, then the content will be again copied to the processor. Memory management information, then PCB pointer. This field is used to form a list of PCB. It is not like that OS will maintain only single PCB. There may be multiple PCB also. So the kernel of the operating system will maintain list of PCB. Event information. When process is blocked, for which event it was waiting, right? There may be many events, as we have already discussed. So for a process in the block state, this field contain information about event for which the process is waiting. When an event occurs, kernel use this information, right? So these were some fields that needs to be maintained for each process by the operating system to maintain PCB. And the last, let's quickly understand what is context switching. It is a small topic. So day after tomorrow, when we come, we can directly start with the scheduling. So context switching, what is this? This is needed when the multiple processes to share single CPU, like all of our computer that we all are using, because we are having single CPU and our computer is having multiple processes. So context is the information stored in PCB that we have seen. Context switch is the process of storing and restoring the information of a process so that execution can be resumed for the same point of the time later. That we have already discussed. When, for example, we have seen P1 and P2. P1 is running and P2 is ready. Now, when P1 time is over, all the information needs to store before it get exit, because when it will come again, CPU needs to use what was the priority of the process, what was the scheduling information of the process, what was the last instruction I have executed for this process, many things. So context switching is nothing but switching from process to process. And believe me, CPU will do it so much fast that a normal user like you and me cannot differentiate. Right now also, see, what I am assuming, my PPT is using CPU right now because I am using CPU. But in background, Google Meet is also running. This voice and all also running. My Gmail is also running. There are many processes background. They're also all are using CPU parallelly. But as a user, and this switching is doing, CPU is doing so fast in millisecond, so we cannot differentiate between that. See the example, P0 and P1. And this is operating system. So currently, for example, P0 is executing. But here operating system have decided to stop it. So interrupt will happen. So save the state into PCB0. For example, PCB0 is for 0 and PCB1 for 1. And process P1 is ideal. Right now it is not doing anything. It is just, and here it is ideal. So after some time, operating system will decide to run the process P1. So what it will do, it will reload the state from PCB1 which was stored by operating system earlier. So it will reload and then P1 will start executing. So again here interrupt will happen. So whatever happened during this time will get stored in PCB1. So you can see this process is still ideal. And for example, here interrupt will happen and OS will decide to run this. So all the data which was stored here, will be reloaded, and it will start execution again from the point at which it was left here. So it is the example of P0 and P1, but there are many processes which are running concurrently. So this is nothing but context switching from P0 to P1, P1 to P0, P0 to P1, P1 to P0. So I think I should stop here. Up till now, any doubt to anyone? So when we will come next time, I think tomorrow is no lecture. Thursday there will be a lecture. We will start with the scheduling algorithm, and we have seen that we will also do numericals of the various scheduling algorithm. So thank you all. Sir, if we run multiple processes at the same time, context switching happens concurrently? Yes. But it is so fast. So see, right now, what as a user, what I am seeing that I am right now using this Google Meet. So my processor or my Google Meet is running the processor. But you can see, yesterday also we have seen, there are, see how many processes are there. So see, many 1.1%, 1. So all are using CPU. Right? So, but the switching is happening so fast that as a user, I can assume that only my process is running. But there are many processes which are running concurrently, and processor is switching from one process to another process very fast. Any query to anyone still? We don't feel it, yes. We never, because the times are in millisecond or even in microsecond. So we don't understand. Okay, so you are free now. You can type your number and you can leave. Thank you. See you on the Thursday.